Hello and welcome to this next module of satellite communication lecture series, that is satellite subsystem. In the earlier lectures we talked about AOCS, TTC&M and power system. And in this lecture we'll be talking about the communication subsystem. Communication subsystem. So this is the most important subsystem of the satellite. The reason being, the main purpose of putting a satellite in space is communication between 2 points. And we have actually launched this satellite or placed this satellite in its orbit so that we are in a position to communicate between the 2 points via this satellite. So it's very important for us to communicate from Earth to satellite and from satellite back to the Earth. So this communication subsystem plays a very important role. So it is one of the major subsystems of the satellite system, responsible for establishing link for information transfer between satellite and the ground station. So here information basically is the signal that we want to communicate from one point to another, or the broadcasting signals, or it can be various signals for which this particular satellite is being in use. Now, other than this, what all can be communicated from satellite to the Earth? So it's important for us to give all the information regarding the health of the satellite back to the Earth. And so this communication subsystem also helps us to monitor the health that includes the signal from AOCS and various sensors on board. So after seeing the importance of communication system, let's see what it comprises of. So basic signal transmission needs two things. One, the processing of the signal, and the other one is the sending of the signal. So these are the two subsystems, two elements that we will talk about in the communication subsystem. One is the transponder and the other one is the satellite antenna. The transponder is basically a device which is going to receive the signal on the satellite and then retransmit to the Earth station. So that is why transponder itself plays a very important role. So in this picture that we can see in the slide, this basically is the transponder. The payload module is written, that is the transponder. The satellite communication, which helps in establishing communication or link between the Earth station and ground satellite, is actually here. So these are the two things that plays important role. Now moving to transponders first. So transponder is a device that receives radio signals and retransmits the identical signal at a different frequency or a different signal at a different frequency. This is what we want. We can actually, transponder is used to receive a signal, as I said, and then retransmit it. So it is possible. In fact, that is what happens in the satellite. When we receive the signal, it is at one frequency, and when it is retransmitted, it is at a different frequency. So communication satellite transponder receives signals from uplink Earth station and retransmit the same signal at a different frequency. There are two types of transponders. One is the bent type and the other one is the onboard processing type. We'll see both of them. First, we need to talk about what are the different frequencies at which this communication is basically going to take place. So we all know satellite works on the microwave range of frequencies, and this is the designated bands in general for microwave communication. The most used frequency bands are 6x4, 14x11 and 30x20 gigahertz. So this is the frequency ranges that is used for general applications. So 6x4 gigahertz means 6 gigahertz is the uplink frequency and 4 gigahertz is the downlink frequency. Similarly, 14x11 means 14 gigahertz is the uplink frequency and 11 gigahertz is the downlink frequency. And so for 30 and 20, where 30 is uplink and 20 is downlink frequency. Now, if you see these frequency ranges that we use for satellite communication, this first one, that is 6 by 4, and if you try to map in here in that given table, 6 by 4 lies actually in the S band. 14 by 11 lies in the Ku band, and similarly 30 by 20 gigahertz band lies in the Ka band. So basically most of the time we use this frequency ranges only, and that are the C band, Ku band and the Ka band. So when we will take an example of a satellite, then we will see that in the specification of a satellite, it's written there that there were 12 transponders of Ku band or 8 transponders of Ka band and so on and so forth. The details has been given. So it is possible that a satellite carries not only one frequency transponder but 2 different bands of ranges of frequency transponders. So now there are certain things, which frequency should we select. So based on that, we'll just go through these facts which will help us in understanding the concepts that we will do later. So satellites operating at higher frequencies have higher bandwidths, and this is what we wanted. We always want wider bandwidths in all our applications. Satellite communication designed for Ku band and Ka band have narrower antenna. So as we go higher in the frequency, the antenna beams becomes narrower. So the better control of coverage patterns is possible compared to the C band, which is at lower frequency. Now what happens when we increase the frequency above 10 gigahertz? So there is a lot of attenuation due to rain. So as attenuation in rain increases as roughly as square of the frequency. So at 20 gigahertz, if you compare, it is 4 times the attenuation at 10 gigahertz. So we understand that one of the cons of using a higher frequency or beyond 10 gigahertz is that we have attenuation because of rain that we need to take care. So if we talk about the bandwidth allocation and can we use any frequency bands that is available? No, it's basically the frequency is there, but which frequency can be utilized for satellite and everything is these kind of allocations are basically done on 2 levels, one on this country level, one on the global level, another one in the country level. So on the global level, we have international telecommunication, which takes into consideration everything and then allocates the frequency that can be used for different applications. And similarly on the same grounds, these things are basically implemented by the different countries, and they actually allocate the frequency to different service providers or for different applications or whatsoever is required. So there are 2, if you see in the earlier slides, we saw there were 3 ranges of frequencies, that bands of frequency that we can use for satellite. That was 6 by 4, 14 by 11 and 30 by 20. So how much bandwidth is available at that particular frequency, that needs to be determined by ITU and the country level, whatever it's being defined by whatever organization is taken into consideration, that will define it. So in here at the 6 by 4 level, we have 500 megahertz allotted, and at 14 by 11 we have 1000 megahertz bandwidth allotted for satellite communication. So when we were moving in frequencies, we need to allot some frequencies at 30 by 20 gigahertz too. So initially 3 gigahertz was allotted for satellite communication, which was later reduced to 1.5 gigahertz based on a part of it was reallocated to LAN multi-point distribution services. So as different applications come into picture, they might decrease. I mean, these in ITU and the country-wide organization, it actually do all these things, reallocates the frequency. So even now when it is 1.5 gigahertz, it is far more than the bandwidth we had for 6 by 4 and 14 by 11. So what we are getting at 30 by 20 gigahertz is sum of what we used to get for 6x4 and 14x11. That is 500 megahertz for 6x4 and 1000 megahertz for 14x11. So if you add both of them, it becomes 1500 megahertz, and that is what bandwidth we are getting at 30 by 20 gigahertz. And that is the major reason why we are moving ahead in frequency. So we have wider bandwidth availability as we keep on increasing the frequency. So up till now we have understood there are three frequency ranges that we are using in satellite communication: 6x4, 14x11 and 30 by 20 gigahertz. Bandwidth availability at 6x4 is 500, 14x11 is 1000 megahertz, and for 30 by 20 it is 1.5 gigahertz or 1500 megahertz. So these are, the first one lies in C band, second one lies in K band, and third one lies in the second one line is in KU band and the third one lies in KA band. Now let's talk about example of a system of 24 transponders for a 6x4 gigahertz satellite. So what we are taking into consideration here is we have taken a satellite which has 24 transponders on the satellite on board, and they are operating at 6x4 gigahertz and in this range. So here from this fact that we understand that it's not this one transponder which is kept on the satellite. There are large number of large number of transponders kept in the satellite depending upon the bandwidth availability and the bandwidth that this particular satellite is making use of. So now we'll take this picture and understand it. So if you see in the diagram, there are two basic things. One is the 12 transponders are, so basically we can divide this into two parts, the upper one and the lower one. So if you see, both upper one and the lower one are similar, almost similar. Only thing that is different is one, this thing LHCP uplink antenna is there, here RHCP uplink antenna is there. Now what else is different? Difference is that, see, this antenna, this particular satellite had 24 transponders, and we know that at 6x4 gigahertz we have bandwidth availability of only 500 megahertz. So it's always a target for us to increase the bandwidth. How we are going to do so? There can be various ways of increasing the bandwidth, and one of it is frequency reuse. So if we reuse the same frequency to two different things, then we can increase our bandwidth. Suppose we are using the same frequency in two different polarization, one in left-handed circularly polarized and the second one for right-hand circularly polarized. So the same frequency can be used two times. So in this way we can increase it, actually double the bandwidth availability. So this is what it is done here. So if you see here, we have now I'll just show you the frequency plan, then you'll understand. So this is the frequency plan. So what we have here is, we have 12 transponders which are given 36 megahertz bandwidth each. So every one channel has a bandwidth of 36 megahertz. And the total bandwidth availability is 500 megahertz. So we can, here in this case, we can accommodate only 12 channels of 36 megahertz. And obviously we cannot place these channels very close to each other. We need some guard band in that case. So what this is, here it is, now you can see this in the diagram. If you see this 40 megahertz, so this takes into consideration the channel as well as the guard band. So we have 36 megahertz channel and 4 megahertz is the guard band on both sides. So if you consider this, only 12 channels can be accommodated in 500 megahertz bandwidth. Now we want to increase it. So what we have done? We used the process of frequency reuse by allotting two different polarizations to different set of transponders. So to the first 12 set of transponders, we have allotted right hand circularly polarized, and to the second set we have allotted left hand circularly polarized. So in that way we can see that the transponders, even though we can accommodate only 12 channels in 500 megahertz bandwidth, but we are able to, by frequency reuse, we are able to accommodate how many channels here? 24. So there are 24 transponders on board for 6 by 4 gigahertz. So earlier we were using only, if we would not have used this orthogonalization polarization difference, orthogonal polarization difference allotment of different polarization allotment to these two different transponders, then we would have used only 500 megahertz. But this time what we are able to do is increase the bandwidth to 1000 from 500. So earlier it was 500 and now it is 1000 megahertz. Now let's understand what is given here. So in this frequency plan, as I explained, there are two types of polarization, RHCP and LHCP. So you can see here written LHCP and RHCP. So we have uplink plan given and the downlink plan given. So all downlink are centered at carrier frequency 2225 megahertz below the uplink channel. So suppose we have a transponder which is centered around 5925 as it is written here. Now if I am saying the downlink is actually located 2225 megahertz, yani 2225 megahertz below the uplink. So if you subtract 5925 to 225, then we will get 3700. So what we have? So we have a difference between the uplink and downlink of the same LHCP, both are LHCP. So uplink have 5925 and the downlink will have 3700, and that is what we talked earlier also. So we said that anyhow uplink is going to have a higher frequency compared to the downlink. So this is satisfied here. So we have uplink around 6 and downlink around 4. It's around 4. It's not at 4. So here you can see this is around 4. 3700 megahertz to 4200 megahertz has been allotted for this, and in the uplink 5925 to 6425 megahertz has been allotted, and we have accommodated all 12 channels. So in the upper half you can see there are 12 channels. So in the LHCP you can see F1U, F2U, F3U and so on so forth up till F12U till 6425 megahertz. Then we start from this, that is F13U, F14U, 15U until 24U. So we have accommodated 24 transponders instead of 12 transponders by taking use of two different type of polarization. Obviously these two polarization going to be orthogonal to each other. So one we have kept it left hand circularly polarized, and other one is here in this case is right hand circularly polarized. Hope this is pretty clear to all of us. Now the difference between there is a 20 megahertz offset between the transponder at the same nominal frequency in the orthogonal polarization. What does it mean? So if you see the uplink, now if you see here, this uplink is basically here 40 megahertz is starting from 5925. So if it's centered here, so if you compare LHCP and RHCP also, so there is some offset between the two, and that is quite noticeable. So this offset, the difference between LHCP and RHCP is of 20 megahertz. It's not at the same, but there is a difference between 20 megahertz. So this ensures that there is no crosstalk. So the small difference of 20 megahertz has been kept. Even in this band also we are accommodating 12 megahertz, and this is how we are doing. So now this frequency plan is, I hope things are clear to us. So what we are doing, we are utilizing 500 megahertz for 12 transponders. The same frequency has been allotted to different set of transponders which is having a different orthogonal polarization. That's it. Now let's go to the last slide. Yeah, this is what we were talking of. So there are 24 transponders. Now we understand there are 24 transponders. 12 are of left hand circularly polarized and 12 are of right hand circularly polarized, and that's what is given here. So the line that I have drawn here was so the line I have drawn here in the middle is basically different bifurcating the two parts, the LHCP and the RHCP part. Now let's see the one block diagram and we will understand the next one also. So the signal comes here. So first thing that we have is the uplink antenna. So as we said, the communication has to be established from earth station to satellite, and satellite transponder, what it is going to do, once it receives the signal, it is going to retransmit it to the earth station. So if it receives the signal here, it is receiving with the help of an antenna which can receive left hand circularly polarized uplink, and now it is received. There are two receivers in picture and that is kept for redundancy. So if one of the receiver fails, then the other one can be active. Now what happens? The next thing that we have is this whole section, this whole part, this one part. If we understand, we can understand all others also, because basically it is the repetition of this simple one block which is known as a transponder. So what it is going to do, it is a band pass filter. It comprises of a band pass filter. Then we have a down converter which is going to convert F1U. F1U means what? F1 means the first transponder, U is uplink, and for first transponder uplink frequency is F1U, and for the first transponder downlink frequency is F1D. So F1U is to be converted to F1D, and then we have a high power amplifier. So this is what is done in a basic, very simplified version of a transponder. So then the signal goes to the downlink antenna and it is thereby sent. So all the transponders are doing the same thing. So if you see here, all of them are same. Only thing, we have a repetition of the same type, same block. How many times? 12 times in one section of this, which is the left hand circularly polarized. Now we will come to the right hand circularly polarized. So what is happening here? So if you come down here, in this case RHCP, what is the difference? Only difference, as I said, this antenna is meant for receiving right hand circularly polarized signals. Receivers are there, we understood there are two receivers, and similar lines we have the transponder, again 12 transponders. So all are in, obviously they need to be in parallel only. Here also we can see the upper one ended at F12, that is F12, and here it was starting from F13 to F24. So we have the whole setup that is working at 6x4 gigahertz. And how many transponders we have? We have 24 transponders. So I hope this particular picture is very, very clear to all of us. So we have understood this frequency plan also, and now we'll go to this communication system of a typical Intel satellite. So the earlier slide we saw an example where only one frequency band was used, 6x4. But there might be a case when we want to increase the efficiency, and where there are many other things also, and because of which we have put two different types of transponders on the satellite, 6x4 as well as 14x11. So there might be different cases when which particular transponder is going to receive signal, what kind of polarization is there, which antenna is to be active, and all these things need to be considered on board only. Once the signal is actually sent from the Earth station, the satellite needs to decide as to which antenna is going to be active right now. And there are various types of antennas too, and that we will talk about in this in another part of this. But for us, we know that different types of antennas we have, and there are spot antennas which might be like which one needs to be activated at this point of time, or which section of that thing is to be activated. So all these things are basically decided here. So this diagram that you see is in the center we have a switch matrix. So if you see in the center we have a switch matrix, and the two sides we have, one is for 14 gigahertz. So there are two three things we can see here. One is 14 gigahertz receiver for receiving signals from the Earth coming at 14 gigahertz, and on the right side we can see the 11 gigahertz going for we are transmitting the signal at 11 gigahertz. And here if you see here in this end we have 6 gigahertz receiver and 4 gigahertz. So which one is to be active at what point of time? I mean, all these things need to be taken care of by the switch matrix. And then we have different cases of the antennas also. We have spot beam antennas, we have hemi beam uplink antenna, we have global beam uplink antenna. So if you see in the 6 gigahertz also, there are options of different types of antennas that might be activated. So this is done with the help of this switch matrix. So now we will, so this thing is clear. We have switch matrix, we have the receivers on the left hand side and the transmitters on the right hand side. On the left hand side we can also see the antennas which are there, different types of antennas and at different frequencies they are operating. And on the right side similarly we have different types of and then we can also see here this LHCP and RHCP that we saw, that is also there. So these are all methods of frequency reuse to increase the bandwidth. For that only we are doing all this. Okay, so now, so if you see just the words that have been used in the last slide, that is the zone and hemi beam uplink antenna, global beam uplink antenna, the ranges of that has been showed in this picture. So here if you see the satellite generates 7 beams which operate in both receive and transmit mode. So here if you see this diagram, you can see here there are west spot beam, there are east spot beam, we have east zone beam. So different types of beam has been here. In terms of its location, it has been drawn here, east hemi beam and west hemi beam, which is to be used. That all decision has to be taken. This is an example of spot beam. So if a particular antenna is using a spot beam antenna, so what is the advantage of spot beam antenna is that we can, suppose we are in some beam 1, B1, as you see it's written there. So if you see here, this B1 is written. So this is the spot beam, and similarly we have B2 and BK. Many number of spot beams can be there. So in one spot we are using, suppose, a frequency of F1 for a signal, then the same frequency can be reused in another spot. So there will be no interference in that case. So the spot beam is again a very good method of frequency reuse. So that is nowadays is being used because of this. As we go higher in frequency, we have a smaller, narrower beam width. So spot beams are very easy for us at higher frequencies. Now, as we started off, we talked about the transponders, and we said there are two types of transponder. One is the bent type and one is the onboard processing. So now we will talk about bent type and onboard processing. So here is the bent type transponder, which is basically we generally use for analog transmission. And the diagram, if you see here, is it actually receives 6 gigahertz signal, because this is an example of bent pipe transponder which is operating at 6/4 gigahertz. If it is operating at some other frequency, then accordingly that will change. But we will see later. Bent type 6 gigahertz uplink antenna is there. Then we have low noise amplifier, we have a band pass filter, and we have a mixer there. So mixer is basically going to generate two type of signal. One is the summation of the two signals that is coming from 6 gigahertz there, and that 2225 megahertz local oscillator, and that will generate the sum signals and the difference signals. So it is going to band pass, the next band pass filter is going to band pass only the difference signal, because that is what we want. We don't want a higher version of that, we want a lower version. So that is why we have kept a band pass filter that is operating at centered at 4 gigahertz. So similarly, we have low pass amplifier and high power amplifier, low power amplifier and high power amplifier, and then that signal is sent at 4 gigahertz. So basically, this is a transponder is going to down convert the signal from 6 gigahertz to 4 gigahertz, taking into consideration that the signal amplification and equalization all process is basically completed. So double conversion frequency. So earlier we saw that it was 6x4 operating, bend type operating at 6x4. Now we can see a transponder which is operating at 14x11 gigahertz, and it is actually very difficult to amplify or do the equalization process and different processes at such a high frequency. So what we are doing in this is we are converting this 14 gigahertz signal to a not directly to 11 gigahertz, but rather we are using an intermediate frequency, that is 1 gigahertz, at which we are doing all the processes or the operations that need to be performed on that frequency on the signal, and then we are reconverting it back to 11 gigahertz, which is basically the frequency at which we need to send from satellite to the earth station. So if you see here in the diagram, there is a 14 gigahertz uplink antenna, and then we have a low noise amplifier, and as in the last we had seen, there was directly conversion from 6 to 4, but here with what is happening from 14 to 1 and then 1 to 11. That's what is happening here. So that process you can see. So basically there is double conversion. So here the same thing is repeated here. So there is two conversions, and that is the reason why it is known as double conversion frequency bend type antenna. So here we have the same things has been repeated two times. So we have 14 gigahertz band pass filter, then we have down converted, converting it to 1 gigahertz, and then we have up converted, converting this into 11 gigahertz. And again, low power and high power amplifiers is there at the 11 gigahertz frequency. Okay, so now the second type of transponders that we were talking of was the onboard processing type. Now this is basically onboard OBP transponder takes into consideration the digital signals. So as I said, bend type works for analog signals, and this OBP works for digital signal, and that is what we are doing right now. I mean, in the current situation, current era, we are using all digital signals only. So there is onboard processing nowadays, onboard processing transponders. So what is the difference between the two? So basically what happens in this type of transponder, there is a processor on board which is going to actually extract the header from the received packet. The signals are coming and we have a received packet, and in the received packet only there is information about all the things. I mean, which beam needs to be activated, or in which area it is coming from, or what all these informations are given, so that the processor is able to read the beam designation and sets the switches to direct the packet to the correct downlink beam. So information in the control packet tells the processor which uplink beam is to be used. So both uplink and downlink can have adaptive coding and modulation. So here if you see, there are on the receiver, so at this starting of this process OBP transponder, we have multiple beam uplink antenna. So as we said, and now we are taking into consideration multiple beam antenna, and which beam, I mean which direction this particular antenna should point to is being decided by the OBP only, and how this OBP gets to know as to which one should be activated. So all these informations are coming with the packets only. So that comes, and then the correct and that is why you see here there is an onboard OBP here in this picture, and we have onboard controller which is going to send signal to this antenna. So accordingly, there are different types of antennas, and accordingly that particular beam will be activated. So we have a receiver. So we have receiver, we have demodulator, we have FEC decoder, and that is forward error correction. So details of many of these codes we must have studied in digital communication. And then we have OBP, which is onboard processor, which is going to take and give commands to onboard controller, and accordingly that onboard controller is going to give commands to all other sections of this transponder. So similarly, if we have decoder at one part, then we need to have an again FEC coder is there, which is going to, obviously the main purpose remains same, it is going to down convert it. And then again we have modulator and we have transmitter. Again, similarly, as we stated, there is multiple being at the uplink side. Similar, on the similar grounds, we have it at the downlink antenna also. So OBP works best with time division multiplexing, and that's true because at one time where this antenna is going to point, then obviously it will receive only one signal from that there. So that is why it is going to work best for time division multiplexing, where only one signal is present in the transponder at one time, because accordingly the whole setup will be decided. So let's go and take an example of this. So I've just given you a brief idea of an example of DTH, direct to home services. So there are different satellites which is owned by different like for INSAT 4A, we have ISRO is the owner, and GSAT 10 ISRO is the owner. We have given the launch date and the mission life. The communication, most of the communication satellite have a mission life of 12 to 15 years. Then we have geostationary position is given. So we have different positions given here, and a number of Ku band transponders. So these satellites basically are carrying Ku band transponders. It is possible that they might carry other transponders also, but here the details of Ku band transponder has been given. So what I wanted to emphasize here is the operator. Suppose Tata Sky wants to put a transponder and into the satellite, then it will go to ISRO and pay, obviously it will pay some money to it, and then the ISRO is going to put this particular transponder on its satellite. So Tata Sky is operating that, as we know DTH is Tata Sky operates we have Tata Sky DTH. So for that the transponders is kept in INSAT 4A. Similarly, transponders, the number that is given is not for only Tata Sky, it is the number of Indian Ku band transponders. So here we can see that Videocon D2H is again is taken, has given a transponder which is actually put on a satellite which is Singtel. So it is possible for any company like the DTH owner to put their transponder on the satellite. But it needs to be, so our country's rule says that it needs to be through ISRO only. So in this Singtel, ISRO has leased certain transponders. So what is happening here? The Videocon has put its transponders there. So similarly, we have DD Free Dish that is kept on GSAT 15. And we have, if you see here, GSAT 15 has 24 transponders, Ku band transponder, but out of them only 5 is used by DD Free Dish, and one transponder is being used by the Sun Direct. So I hope I'm able to give some idea about the communication subsystem, more specifically about the transponders. So in the next lecture we will be talking about very in short about the satellite antennas. Thanks a lot for watching.